3 suggested objects of worship and the corresponding evidence. By Krishna's mercy. Varshatindre Vraj, Kopad Bhagnamane Vihval, Gotra Lila Tapatren Trato Bhadra Nugrihnata. Quote, O sober Vidura, King Indra, his honor having been insulted, poured water incessantly on Vrindavana, and thus the inhabitants of Vraja, the land of cows, were greatly distressed. But the compassionate Lord Krishna saved them from danger with his pastime umbrella, the Govardhana Hill, Shrimad Bhagavatam 3.33. If I'm struggling, to where will I turn? If desperate for meaning in life, is there someone who can offer it to me? If I am lost, lacking direction, and deliberating as to the purpose of life itself, is there a source for answers? In a society where ideas can be exchanged, where someone can give a presentation to impressionable youths, say on a university campus, without being violently attacked in return, anyone can say anything. When there is a peaceful arena of ideas, plenty of recommendations will flow. If not from a person speaking at a podium, then perhaps from an influencer who posts short-form videos. There is even the old-fashioned method of visiting a store or library and choosing a book to read. To that end, in the category of wisdom, described as Hinduism, which is more accurately known as Sanatana Dharma, someone might recommend 3 specific objects of worship. This is to fulfill the stated objective. There is certainly more to it, reaching beyond the temporary, looking ahead after Svartha reaches full satisfaction. There is Paramartha to account for, which is the heavenly interest, or that which will manifest in the afterlife. The recommendations carry supporting evidence. The person receiving the information should not necessarily follow blindly either. They can carefully deliberate. They can weigh the positive points and think long and hard about any potential negatives. They should proceed with confidence, and to help in that decision, there are historical references that serve as a kind of certification. The products in question have already passed the inspection phase, if thinking in terms of a guarantee. 1. The Tulasi plant. Though a plant not much visibly different from others, it is considered sacred. It is the holy basil. Shastra reveals that Tulasi is actually a goddess. She is serving a specific role in appearing in this world. Wherever she flourishes, wherever she is well-fed and basking in sufficient amount of light, there is auspiciousness. A person might not even know that they are in a good place, but Tulasi Devi is still kind enough to bless them. Quote, Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Tulasi tree, which can immediately vanquish volumes of sinful activities. Simply by seeing or touching this tree, one can become relieved from all distresses and diseases. Simply by offering obeisances to and pouring water on the Tulasi tree, one can become freed from the fear of being sent to the court of Yamaraj, the king of death, who punishes the sinful. If someone sows a Tulasi tree somewhere, certainly he becomes devoted to Lord Krishna. And when the Tulasi leaves are offered in devotion at the lotus feet of Krishna, there is the full development of love of Godhead, the nectar of devotion, quoting the Skanda Purana. How does she bless people exactly? Does she deliver endless riches? Does she remove diseases from within the body? Does she exact revenge for the angry and the offended? Her single gift is devotion. Tulasi is also known as Vrinda, and one notable place where she flourishes is thus known as Vrindavana. It is the beautiful forest area blooming with the presence of Tulasi Devi. As far as evidence to support the claim, we have the story of a reformed hunter. He happened to run into the respected Nard Muni, who is something like a traveling teacher. Nard is always singing the glories of Narayan, which is one way to address the Almighty. Since God is the source of men, he is known as Narayan. Narad convinced this hunter to give up his dreaded occupation. Rather than half-killing animals, watching them needlessly suffer, he could retreat to a place near a sacred river. From there, the former hunter could care for a tulasi plant, chanting the holy names of God on a regular basis. It appears to be an abrupt transition. What about the daily needs? What about the continuation of life? How is some plant going to trigger a transformation? Never mind the particulars, just take the action. That is the recommendation from those who know. The hunter soon changed completely. He became respectful of all forms of life. He was identified within the community as a saintly person. Therefore, people brought donations. There was an abundance, in fact, such that the hunter later asked Nard to intervene and inform the donors that there was too much being offered. Et annana pathao, kichu karya nai, sabe dvijanar yogya bhakshya matra chai. Quote, the former hunter said, "Please do not send so many grains. Only send what is sufficient for 2 people, no more." Chaitanya Charitamrit, Madhya 25th, 200. 2. Sri Krishna. This is the same Narayan, but appearing differently. In certain divisions of study of the Vedas, in traditions going back to ancient times, Krishna is considered the origin of everything. The followers worship Krishna first and consider Narayan to be an incarnation. Some traditions take Narayan first, who is also known as Vishnu, and consider Krishna and Rama to be avatars, or expansions which are identical from the original. For the doubting soul, there is the evidence in the descriptions of the sacred Bhagavad-gita text. This forwards a conversation which took place on a battlefield. The bow warrior named Arjuna already knew that Krishna was supreme, but he kind of intentionally forgot about it. This was to facilitate the close relationship they had, which was through both family and friendship. Nevertheless, Arjuna once directly asked to see the Virat Rupa. This is like the complete everything packed into a single image, like a museum exhibit that has movement, 3-dimensional and with a time element. This is the evidence that Krishna is God, but there was also the additional support of the clearing of confusion. Arjuna went from hesitant and unsure to enlightened and confident due to direct association with Krishna. Those who study the conversation between the two essentially engage in worship through their intelligence. Adhyashyate cha ya imam, dharmyam samvadam avayo, jnana yagyena tenaham, ishtahasyam iti me matiha. Quote, and I declare that he who studies this sacred conversation worships me by his intelligence. Lord Krishna, Bhagavad-gita, 1870. 3. Govardhana Hill. This is a physical object typically considered inanimate. It is made of rock. It is like a huge rock, in fact. It would take a long time to simply walk around this rock in a reverential manner known as parikrama. It was the same Krishna, but much younger, who instituted the worship. He suggested something that was never done before. Krishna made the convincing presentation, while asking questions which appeared innocent on the surface, but had a certain conclusion in mind. Kathitamepit, koyam sambhramo va upagat, kim phalam kasya voddesh, kena va sadhyate mak. Quote, my dear father, I am very respectfully and humbly inquiring. What is this arrangement? Why you are busy in making some sacrificial ceremony? What is the reason and what is the result? For whose benefit is it and by what means will it be accomplished? Shrimad Bhagavatam 10:24-3. The people of the area took a chance. They agreed to follow Krishna. They worshipped Govardhana Hill, which was dear to their community. They took preparations already gathered for the regular and authorized worship of Indra, the king of heaven, and transitioned everything towards the new idea of Krishna. This was a shot in the dark, going on a hope and a prayer. There were two kinds of evidence in the immediate aftermath. First, Krishna assumed the identity of the hill and spoke to the worshippers. He recommended that the worship continue annually thereafter. In the same manner, with the same kind of devotion, the people would make it known that they appreciate what the hill offers. The second evidence was unexpected and spectacular in vision. The King of Heaven had been watching the entire time. He was not happy. He thought about and then acted on vengeance. He sent the cloud of devastation to pour an ungodly amount of rain on the area. The people were in trouble. They were getting punished for following Krishna. The subsequent vision is described as Leela Patrena. Krishna turned Govardhana Hill into an umbrella. It was like something out of a pastime, almost like a toy, but sacred in its identity. The worship was legitimate. The worship was true. The worship was identical to Krishna, as the hill rested comfortably on his tiny finger, protecting the people from danger instigated by envy. In closing, by waves of desires tossed, now feeling hopeless and lost, to sacred book to turn, and recommendations to earn, but evidence accompanying true, like Virat Rupa Krishna is who, and Tulasi a devotee to make, Govardhan as umbrella to take.